Hello everyone, welcome to How to Code. Today's problem, first in first out page replacement algorithm. In input we have 3 frames and 5 number of pages, and the contents are 5, 7 to 5, 3. In the output we have to find out number of page faults. Okay, so let's find out the logic. So take the first page, that is 5, and compare with the contents of the frames. So initially all are empty. So next, first page 5. Now we have to compare 5 with the contents of the frames. So right now 5 is not available inside the frames, so 5 we have to place in frame 1 because this is first in first out. So this is page fault 1. Okay, next page content is 7. Again compare with the frames content, and 7 is also not available inside the frames. So the next available frame is F2. Okay, so another page fault, so fault 2. Next page 2, again compare with the frames, and 2 is not available, so place 2 in frame 3. Again another page fault. Next 5. So right now if you compare 5 with the frames content, 5 is available in frame 1. Okay, so yes, we don't have to put 5 inside the frames, 5 is already available, so this one is page hit. Okay, we don't have to put 5. Next content 3, again just compare with the frames, and 3 is not available, so we have to put 3 inside the frames. Now which frame we have to choose? This is F1 because first in first out, and 5 came first, so instead of 5 put 3 in frame F1. So this is the final combination, 3, 7, 2, and another page fault, so page fault number 4. Now the logic part is clear. So number of page faults 4 and only one hit, so hit ratio 1 divided by number of page access multiplied by 100. Okay, so it is 20%. So this one you can say hit ratio. Okay, now coming to the coding environment, okay, or programming environment. So in input I think we have to consider two things, frames and pages both. In pages we have more values, so of same type, obviously one array of type integer will be fine for page, so this one. Now index value say 10, you can take any other value. Next variable, another array for frame. Okay, so consider frame. Now say 10, here it is also 10. Now if you want to take user input, just use scanf for number of frames and for page also. So for page say P is the number of pages user want to insert, and for frame it is F. Okay, got it. Now so using scanf we can take these values, fine. So for this example we will initialize some values inside the arrays page and frame. So in the frame okay, in frame later we will put the values, because right now it is empty. Okay, no problem. And in so right now we don't require frame, but in page initialize the value. You can take user input also using scanf, so no problem. Now in page we have 5 7 2 5 3. Okay, next initialize the frames with some default values. Okay, so the blank values. So for calculation or programming purpose, just taking -1. So frame you can take it through for loop also, but right now I am initializing the frame with -1 values. Okay, so by default the content of the frame f1 is -1, for f2 it is -1, for f3 it is -1. So it will denote that no values are available. Okay, fine. Next step, what we have to do? Okay, we have to calculate the page fault, right? So take another variable for page fault. Say it's you can take page fault or any variable name, say fault. Okay, and the default initialized value is 0. Okay, so at first there is no page fault, that's why initialized with 0. Fine. Next, so first thing what we have to do, we have to compare the content of page 1 with the frames content. Okay, so just use one if condition, and okay, so page, now we want to compare with the all frames. Fine, so page say 0 equals to frame. Now I am using I. Why I? Because I have to compare with 3 frames. So instead of comparing with each and individual frame, I will use one for loop. Okay, and the index of the for loop will start from, so for programming purpose just use one for loop, I equals to 0, I less than obviously number of frames, so here it is 3. Fine, so you can take it from user also. So I less than 3 and I plus plus. Okay, and this is the first for loop, this one is the first for loop. Okay, and fine, so if it is 0, that means the page is available inside the frame. So like in case of page 4, okay, the content is 5 and 5 is already available in frame 1. So during this we will just use one break statement, that means we don't have to compute it further, just exit from this for loop. So this is the for loop right now we are using. Okay, so and another thing, we will use one flag variable to denote this incident. So flag equals to 1. So what will be the initial value of flag? 0. Now this flag variable actually will denote any change of incident. Okay, so right now there is a change of incident because the page is available inside the frame. Okay, now just break it, because right now we don't need this for loop. Okay, so if is complete and also the for loop, so this one, this for loop will end here. Okay, okay, fine. Okay, now if the page is not available, then what we have to do? So from here let's come here. Now if the page is not available, that means flag equals to 0. So if That's why we are using the flag variable. If flag equals to 0, then what we have to do? We have to place the page content inside the frames. Okay, fine. So at the initial start, where we have to store it, obviously at the first location of the frame 1. Now we are using one array, and here we have to store it in the first location. So for this, just use one variable to denote the first location. Say that's why okay, use another variable, say position pos equals to 0. That will denote the location of frame array. Okay, pos equals to 0. So right now frame, okay, frame is the array pos. So right now the starting location is 0, because at the beginning we have to start from the 0 location. Okay, next page I, that means first page. So right now we are in this example for 5 is the first page. Okay, so that's why I am using, you can use page 0 also here. So for example page 0, but we have to do it for all the pages. That's why one index value will be there, and that will actually traverse for all the pages. Okay, so instead of having 0, we can put one index variable here. Okay, so let's have png, or maybe 0. You can later we will modify this one. Now this is fine. Okay, done. So after this, what we have to do? We have to obviously increase the position of the frame, because the next page will be fitted into the next available frame. So just increase the position variable. Okay, and automatically it will point to the next part. Now if the frame limit is complete, then what we have to do? Obviously this is first in first out code, so the position variable again point to the first location. So for this, suppose after 572 in this code we can handle up to 572, but after 2 the limit is complete, the quota is complete, so we have to again point to the first location. So how we can do that? For that, another logic, if pos greater than equals to, you can say frame number. Okay, so what is the frame number? We are using say f. Okay, so greater than equals to f, then what we have to do? pos equals to 0. That means the pos variable will again point to the first frame, that is f1, because this is first in first out. Okay, now next what we have to do? Just we have to print the frames. Okay, so for this just use one for loop and say I or any variable I less than frame number, that is f, and I plus plus, and just print the frame array. Okay, so that is I think %d and frame I. That's it. The entire code is complete. Now here we are doing this logic for only one page. Now we have to do for all the pages. So the entire procedure actually from here, and so let's copy this entire thing. Okay, for this is only for one page. Now we have to rotate this for the number of pages. So here we have to include another for loop, so that it will do for all the pages. So for you can take another variable, j equals to 0, j less than p is the number of pages, so less than p and j plus plus. Okay, so start this for loop from here before beginning of this for loop and end the for loop here, and this is the complete logic actually. So from this mathematical logic we can easily apply it in our programming environment. Okay, so the entire thing is very easy, but for that you have to use step by step coding. Okay, now let's execute the code in our programming environment. Okay, so this is the programming environment, and okay, so let's explore the code line by line. Okay, so that it will be easy to understand. Now frame for frame content. Okay, and here it is 10, the maximum capacity. So here the frame contents will be stored, that means the page content will be stored inside this frame array. Next ij, k, some variables are there, p is also the number of pages variable, and for frame I am using in frame. Okay, now page, this is the page array. Okay, so here you can take the page inputs. Next, so number of frames you are asking from the user, obviously scanf %d at the address set operator in frame. So this is the variable for number of frames. Next, this is the initialization part. Okay, so we are initializing frame with -1 because at default we don't have any values inside the frames, so that's why -1. Okay, and for this we are using the for loop. Next, number of pages we want to give as input, so for that we are using the address set operator, and pp is the variable for number of pages. Next, using scanf we are taking the inputs from user. So up to this I think this is okay, there is no problem, there should not be any problem. And if you face any kind of problem during the coding or during the I think mathematical calculation, you can post your queries and doubts in the comment section of the video. Okay, next, so again I am using one flag variable to change the to note down the change of incident. So here two incidents are there available, either the page will be available or it is not available. So if it is available, then that will be denoted using the flag variable. Okay, so yes, now the first for loop actually, so actually the first for loop will do the calculation for all the pages. That's why if you go through the for loop, the initialization part I equals to 0, I less than p, that means the number of page inputs, I plus plus, that means inside the for loop actually all the calculation will work. Okay, next, flag equals to 0. Now next, what we have to do, we have to compare the page content with all the frames, so that's why this for loop. Okay, and the entire calculation will be applicable for all the pages. If there is only one page, then this for loop is not necessary, but this is not the case, we have multiple pages, so that's why we have to rotate the entire procedure for number of times, and that will be limited by the number of page, okay, given as input. Okay, next, obviously we have to compare the content of the page with the frame contents. Okay, and if it is equal, then that means it's a hit, so that's why printf hit. And obviously then break out of the loop. If the page content is available in any frame, obviously there is no significance in continuing with the loop, so that's why just use the break. Next, so if flag equals to 0, that means we don't have the page content inside the frames. So in that case, what we have to do, obviously we have to place the page content inside the frames. So where do we have to place, that thing will be denoted by the POS variable actually. So the initial value is 0, so during the starting point, obviously the first page content will be available at frame 1, and as per array convention you can say frame 0, so that's why this part. And for the next page content, automatically we have to increase the location from frame 0 to frame 1, so that's why we are incrementing the variable POS here or pause here. Okay, and obviously this incident is page fault because the page is not available right now inside the frame, so that's why we are placing the page inside the frame. So the event is page fault. Okay, and again the default value for p fault is the variable actually for counting the page faults. Now default value is 0, we are starting with 0 page fault, and automatically after this incident the value of the page fault, okay, is incremented from 0 to 1. Okay, now another case, that is if the frames are full, then where we have to place. So this is first in first out, that means after the full frames we have to again point to the first frame. Okay, that's why the POS variable will go point to the first frame again when POS will be greater than equals to n frame, that means number of frames. Okay, so we are incrementing the value of POS. Automatically when it will be equal or greater than n frame, that means number of frames, automatically this variable will point to the first frame, that's why POS equals to 0. Okay, next that's it, the entire code is complete, and at the end we are just printing the final configuration. Okay, we are printing the frame array, that's it. So okay, let's execute the code. So control O, control X, Y. Okay, so now a dot out,